Hello everyone, how are you doing today? As I told you yesterday, wear a beautiful smile on your face, feel happiness from inside, and take 3 deep breaths and feel the happiness. Excellent. Now let's start today's session on a very high energy, on a high note. And today we are going to learn a very beautiful concept of learning. Because we are here to learn, right? So we must know how to learn in the first instance. If I'm learning, right? If I know how to learn, then only I learn a lot of things, right? So how learning happens, let's see. And today's session is going to be very interesting. So be ready. And we'll play a lot of games and exercises as well. Okay, great. Just a second. Yeah, we are ready. So first of all, what is learning? Learning denotes any acquisition, right? Acquisition. You are acquiring something. What are you acquiring? It can be knowledge. It can be skills. Okay, you learn skills to do things. You learn knowledge. That is a textual form. You learn preferences. I prefer this thing. You learn preferences. You learn attitudes. So a lot of people have a lot of different kinds of attitudes. We'll discuss about that later on. Evaluation techniques and social rules as well. You have to learn the rules of the society. And because you're a social animal and you have to live in this society, so you have to learn a lot of things. And these are just a few examples. You learn a lot of things in life. Now the main question is not what you learn, that we'll see, or what skills you need to develop, that also we'll see in due course of time. What we are going to see today is how you learn. Okay? So let's see. Right. So there are two ways in which we know what we know. In fact, there is a quadrant, and we'll discuss about this quadrant later on in the sessions. But I'll just introduce you today to that quadrant. There are 4 elements of that quadrant in terms of knowledge. And the first is, it says that you know what you know. You know what you know means I know what I know, right? I know taxation, I know a lot of things, I know about doing business, I know about these things, I know about that thing, okay? We know what we know. Number 2, we know what we don't know. So there are things that I know today that I don't know, so I need to learn those things, right? I know that I don't know these things, and therefore what you need to do, the action that you need to take is go and learn those things. So in the last session we talked about behaviors, we talked about emotions, actions, right? So action is necessitated by knowing that we don't know something. So what we need to do, go out and learn those things, right? Develop new skills, learn new things. The third quadrant is we don't know what we know. We don't know what we know. Means inside we know some things, we have those talents, we have those skills, but we don't know about them. Those are called as hidden treasures. You have them. You have those treasures inside you, and all of us do have some kind of treasure inside us. Like I found my teaching capability when I was in CA final. Okay, when I was giving CA final, and we formed a group discussion, a group to have discussions about a lot of topics, and that was the time when I realized that yes, I can speak, and people liked when I taught them, and they said that yeah, you are good, so you only do it. So I used to conduct most of those sessions. Okay, and then I realized this technique or this skill which was hidden inside me for so long, for almost 20 to 23 years. And then I suddenly realized it. So these are hidden gems inside us. And one of the things that we'll be doing in these sessions is also to find those hidden gems, those hidden treasures. Bring them out, polish them, and shine. Okay? So you can really excel in those things. So those are things which we call as passion. When you find that thing in you, you get that extraordinary energy, to support that thing. And then you can excel very fast. So that's one point we are going to cover in these topics. Not just learn, but do it. So that was the third quadrant. We don't know what we actually know. And the fourth one is the space out there, the whole universe. And that is called as you don't know what you don't know. And most people struggle here. You are not able to excel in life. You're not able to do great or achieve greatness in life just because you don't know what you don't know. So there are a lot of things, the whole universe, as I said. So slowly and steadily we need to find those things from that quadrant, convert it into I know that I don't know. So right now you don't know that you don't know. You have to convert it into I now know that I don't know these things. Like a lot of things that I have discussed in the past sessions and a lot of things that we are going to discuss in the future sessions. I bet that you might not have known these things earlier, right? And you might not even know that you don't know these things. But now you are knowing that, oh, these are some things which I don't know. So now I need to learn them, right? So first we'll shift those things from don't know, we don't know quadrant to I know that I don't know. And then what you do is you go and learn those things. So then it will become I know what I know. So when I talk about knowledge, these are the four quadrants. So different things are out there, but most of the things, 99% of the things I would say for every one of us lies in that quadrant. We don't know what we don't know. So let's make a habit and let's try to convert it into the top quadrant. Okay, so let's see. Now, when it comes to learning, how do we learn things? So there are the psychologists over the years have developed many techniques of learning that we'll see right now. But they say that, okay, one thing is that you are born with things. You are born with certain kind of knowledge. And in the last session, I was telling you about, the collective consciousness and the genetics. So the knowledge that is transferred to us in our genes, that is what we have already inherited, the inherited knowledge. Okay. So that's called as nature. You get skills, you get some abilities through your genetics. So if your genetics is strong, you have a strong body, you can become a boxer, you can become an athlete, you can become a swimmer, and so on and so forth. In that introductory session, I told you about Michael Harouge, Hisham Harouge, and Michael Phelps, right? So they were born with specific body type, and therefore they were good in certain kind of a sport. Okay, so those are genetics. We are born with it. Natural talent, you can say. So the examples given out there are like the physical aspects, the hair color. You inherit your hair color. You don't, try to, of course you can go to a spa and salon and change the color, but you are born with a specific hair color, or your height, or your weight, a lot of things, So we are born with it. So that is nature. So there is one school of thought which says that everything is by birth. You inherit things by birth and then it stays with you. The second school of thought says you nurture, means from your environment you can learn things. So whatever we have learned is from our environment. But both are wrong. If you take it in extremities, then both are wrong. So we have to combine them. So the right technique is that whatever we have got today in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, in terms of aptitude, in terms of our attitude, in terms of our behavior, in terms of the actions that we take, in terms of our perceptions, whatever we have with us today is a combination of these two. Okay. So part of it is inherited by nature through our genetics, and part of it we have learned from our environment. That is from our schooling, from our college, from the classes that we have attended, from the observation that we have made over the years, and so on. So now let's deep dive into these aspects. Okay, but before that, there's one important point to be noted, which is for us, because we want to succeed in life, right? Our motto is success. So how do we achieve success? By learning things, by learning new skills, by learning new knowledge, getting new knowledge. So this is a very important point to be noted, that you are able to develop and change yourself through ongoing skill acquisition throughout life. So in your childhood days, you must have heard this point somewhere, that you only learn during your childhood days, and whatever you learn at that point of time continues to stay with you throughout your life. But that is not true. Psychologists have proved and researchers have proved over the years that that is not true. The learning continues throughout the life. Okay? And which can have an impact on your neurological level. Means you can change your genetics. And that is how the genetics grow. Like, so my forefather might have born millions of years back, and then I have inherited those genes. But then the genetics that I have inherited today is not just the thing that was originally learned by my 1 millionth forefather, right? It has been growing over the years, changing, the genetics keep changing. So whatever I have inherited today is the learning of all those millions of years. That means that whatever I am learning today, I am going to pass on that thing through my genetics to my offsprings, and then they will carry it forward. So every one of us has the capacity, has the capability to learn new skills, new knowledge, and then we can pass it on through our genes through to our offsprings. Okay, so that's the beautiful thing, and therefore we are here to learn. Okay, now let's see, there are 3 methods of learning that we'll be discussing today, and we all learn, anything that we learn today is by a combination of these 3 techniques. Okay, and then so we'll learn about them, and we'll also see how we can apply them to our practical situations in business, in job, or whatever you're doing, and how we can, get advantage. So first we'll learn the classical conditioning, and then I'll tell you how to apply it in different scenarios, in different situations. So there was a person, Ivan Pavlov, and his team, who developed this technique way back in 1927 by using some dogs as experiments. But what we are not studying psychology right now, so I'll not take you deep into those research and what they did and all those things. We'll just come to the conclusions which are important for us. So we need to learn from the conclusions and then see how we can apply these techniques in our practical lives. Okay, that's what we want to learn. So it says that there is a stimulus and a response. A stimulus and a response, and they are paired together. But before we go into this, let me tell you in brief how our mind works so that you can understand this. Now, if I say how our mind works, nobody knows because we haven't gone inside our mind, right? So let me give another analogy, and that is of a computer. How does a computer work? You input the data, right? We input a lot of data into it. Then there is a program inside your computer which processes that information, that data. It processes and it gives an output, right? So there are 3 things, just 3 things involved. There is input, there is processing, and there is output. Now compare this with your mind. So we input data into our mind. How do we do that? Through our 5 senses. That is the only way we can input data to our mind. Okay, there are only these ways. There is no other way you can put the data inside. We have not developed any microbiological chip right now, though people are researching, and it may come after a few years. So you can just input that chip through an operative procedure, and then you get all the knowledge. But that is not there today. So today we use the old technique of 5 senses. So when this information goes into our mind, there is a program there. So we'll discuss this program later on in our sessions. because we'll be discussing reprogramming also. So I'll discuss it later on in detail, but today I'm just giving you a brief idea. So there's a program which is a complex thing. So this data goes there, the program runs it through, and then depending on what it interprets, it gives an output. And understand this point today, that each one of us has our own program. In the computer, what happens is that Microsoft or Apple or any other operating system that we deploy, it's the same. So my computer's operating system and your computer's operating system would be the same. So it will give the same output. If you give the same input, both the computers will give us the same output because the program is the same. But that is not the case out here. Here, each one of us has our own program, which we'll be discussing in later sessions. So our output is also different. And that happens. Now you think about yourself and your situation. Same input, say you and your friend have gone to watch a movie. You may like it, your friend may not like it. Or you may give a ranking of 9 out of 10, he may give a ranking of 4 out of 10. Why this happens? The movie is the same, the input is the same. Both of you heard the same dialogues and saw the same, the video. But you have different programming, different perceptions, and because of that, the output is different. I may feel that this cup is hot, you may say that this is cold, right? So me and my wife daily argue on this matter. I say that yes, this cup of tea is hot, I can drink it. She says that no, this is too cold. So she puts it in the microwave, runs it for another minute or so, and then she drinks it. So the temperature was the same. I was thinking that this is hot. She thinks that this is too cold. Different perceptions, different programming, right? So we'll discuss about this in our later sessions in detail and try to reprogram where we need to reprogram. But right now, so coming back, so that's how our mind works. There's input, there is processing, and then output. Output is in the form of actions. Okay, very good. So we take different actions. Every one of us take different action depending on our programming. Now, very important point, that there is a stimulus and there is a response. So response is the action. Okay, stimulus is the input. Understand this point. So stimulus is the input, response is the output or the outcome. So they are paired. Paired because of a very important word I'm going to tell you, anchor. Remember this word for a long time. So here I'm teaching you some neuro-linguistic programming technique. Anchor. Anchor means something which is registered in our mind, on which we anchor the information. So when the information goes into our mind, that information is stored somewhere, which that is what we call as memory, right? So how does memory form? So memory is formed in the brain by using anchors. So what a mind does, that when I get a new information, it anchors that information to something that it knows for long. Okay? So for example, when you hear a dialogue from a particular movie, even if the speaker is somebody else, but as soon as you hear that dialogue, and it's a very famous dialogue, you can immediately remember that this dialogue is of that movie and of that actor, right? So what your mind has done is that it has registered those words, the dialogue, with a mental image of that actor. Okay, so they are anchored together. So that is how the mind registers information, through anchoring. So the anchoring can be an image, the anchoring can be a sound, the anchoring can be a feeling, the anchoring can be a place, anything. So these are anchors. Okay, so how this anchor work, and then how we can change these anchors, let's see. So stimulus and response is there. So let's take an example. You are seeing some tasty food. So when you see a tasty food, what happens is that there is automatic, your taste buds release the saliva. So your mouth becomes wet. Salivation happens just because of seeing the tasty food. Now see, seeing is input. Run it down, okay? Seeing is input. Tasty food is the anchor. This is the anchor. Tasty food is the anchor. And salivation is the output. Okay? Tasty is the program. Food is the anchor. Taste is the program. Now, two of you see the same food. Okay? The food is, say, paneer butter masala. Two people are sitting on the table and they see the same food. Will both of them salivate? May not. Maybe or may not. Why? Because of the different programming. So this tasty word is the programming. One person considers it to be tasty. So for him, the salivation will work. The output will be salivation. But the other person doesn't like paneer butter masala at all. He hates it. So when he sees that, and you can see his emotion on his face, again I have to eat the same thing. Why? And the other person, wow, paneer butter masala. So see, the emotion. Therefore, in the last session, we talked about behavior. So behavior includes emotions, okay, and action. So behavior will be different. The actions will be different. One will salivate, he will eat it fast. The other will say, oh my goodness, again paneer butter masala. So he'll not have that salivation feeling, no output. His feeling will be bad, his emotions will be bad, he will eat it, okay, I have to eat, so I'll eat. So see the difference? So when we study everything, you relate it to the real things. The real things are input, processing, output, program. Great. So anyways, now this anchor is happening. So what is the anchor? The tasty food, the taste has become your anchor. So what happens is, now this is called as unconditioned stimulus and unconditioned response. Unconditioned means you have not been trained for that. This has been built in since your childhood, automatic. These anchors have become automatically. You haven't learned them. Okay, so they are called as unconditioned stimulus and unconditioned response. So the stimulus is tasty food, the response is salivation, right? Good. This is called as unconditioned, first one. Going on to the next one, and this is now very important, this is what we have to learn, that if encountering food is consistently accompanied by a previously neutral stimulus. Neutral stimulus means something which doesn't evoke any response in you. Okay? But if something which is evoking a response is combined with something which is neutral till date, then what happens is that even this becomes a stimulus. The second thing also becomes a stimulus. Okay? Like for example, in school days, we used to have a tiffin, we used to carry the tiffin to the school, and in the recess, whenever that recess was there, we used to get very hungry by that time, and we used to rush to the dining hall and eat our food, right? So the stimulus that we have seen is food. When you see the food, you salivate. But in school, what used to happen, that there was a ring, there was a bell for the recess. So we had an in mind, we were waiting for that bell, right? And we used to see the food. So I'm seeing at my tiffin box, and then the bell rings. I salivate. So the food and the salivation is happening. But when this is happening, the bell is also ringing consistently every single day. Now what happens? That even bell becomes the stimulus for salivation. So now if there is no food, but the bell rings, your mind will react in a way that it will create the same response, means you will salivate. Just by listening to that bell, you will salivate. And this has been proved. So that Pavlov did this research on dogs, of course, and he found out that this thing happens, and then he experimented on humans, and it came to be true. So here what we do, we insert a bell along with food. Okay, so a new stimulus, which is up till now neutral, is been inserted along with the food, and then what happens is That unconditioned stimulus plus conditioned. So bell now becomes a conditioned stimulus, a new stimulus which you are conditioning, which you are learning. Unconditional is the food plus bell is equal to salivation. Later on what will happen, that if you hear the bell alone, you will salivate. Okay, interesting. Now where we will use this in our practical lives? Where should we use this? Anyone has any? Let's take an example. So this is how you will do it. This is one activity for the day. So one example I am giving you. So today you will write down, first thing what you'll do is write down all the negative anchors in your life and all the positive anchors in your life. Make a chart, positive anchors, list of positive anchors, list of negative anchors. Means positive anchors are those which give you a positive feeling, a positive emotion. It makes you happy. Like I see a mountain, a picture of a mountain, it automatically makes me happy. Why? It's just a picture. But since I've gone to the mountains earlier and I know how it feels there, so it makes me happy. Okay? So a mountain brings positive emotions in me. So if I see a picture of a mountain, it automatically brings that positive emotion. If I see any vacation place, for that example, a beach, so then it evokes a positive response. So write down those anchors which evokes positive response in you and write down the negative ones. So this is one example. Like suppose if you have been troubled with hospital visits for you or your family members, and you have got very bad memories out there. So what happens is that sound of hospital, all those machines which are there, the beeps that come, or the ambulance, because you have seen that ambulance coming to your home and then all that thing. So all the bad memories are associated with it. So that has become a bad anchor for you. Okay, and whenever you hear that sound anywhere, it automatically brings those negative feelings, right? And you start maybe crying or you have that bad emotion. Now we want to remove this, obviously, right? How do we remove this? How do we remove these negative anchors? Because they are not needed, they are not helping us. It's not a valid thing. We shouldn't have a negative emotion just by hearing an ambulance sound. So how do we remove it? So you do this exercise. So once you have written your negative and positive anchors, now what you do is that you go into a positive anchor. Like for example, a song, a very good song that you like, you play the song and then you go into that mood, a very positive mood, a positive atmosphere. So you start that song with a high volume, and at the same time on your mobile phone or somewhere else you just start that ambulance sound, and you can get it on your mobile. You can download ambulance sound and you can start playing it. Don't play it at the same volume, play it very low, to such an extent that you can't even hear it clearly. Okay, but start it very low, maybe 5% you start, and then let them play at the same time. So your focus is on the positive sound, so you are feeling good. At the same time when you will start hearing that sound, so your mind will slightly divert. Now from this happiness state you may come down to a confused state, that your mind is hearing both the sounds, so what to do? Mind is confused. Okay, let it be confused for some time. But if it shifts from positive to negative, try to pull it back to positive. I'm listening the song. Don't focus on the ambulance sound, focus on the song. Try to do that. 1 day, 2 day, then slightly increase the volume of that ambulance sound on the third day. Make it from 5 to 10%. And what this will make is that it will clear that anchor from your mind over some time. They normally say that it takes 21 days to form a new habit, the new sequence of neurons to establish. So do it for 21 days, do it for 30 days, but do it regularly, consistently, religiously. Okay. So, and then slowly start increasing the volume of the ambulance sound. but your mind will not divert towards that over the period of time. And a time will come when your mind will totally stay calm, and then even if you remove this song and just hear the ambulance sound, you will not go into the negative state. So that old anchoring will be removed completely. This is an excellent technique of neuro-linguistic programming. Okay, so will you do that? Excellent. Try to do that. So whatever things are troubling you in life today, because anything which troubles us, all our fears and emotions, they are stopping us from getting to success. Because when those things happen in life, they take us back, they pull us down, and we don't want that. We don't want to be pulled down anytime. Okay, and sometimes what happens is that people consistently put that anchor just to confuse you, just to pull you down. They will say the same things again and again to pull you down. So you change those anchors. Say, if you take another example, if you don't like a person because he troubles you a lot, maybe he's your boss, maybe he's your colleague, you don't like him, and whenever you see him, you get into very negative feeling. Okay, so now what you do is bring a happy face in your mind, somebody who makes you very happy. Farooq Haque. Okay, so think about him. And yesterday in the last session we talked about one point, and I told you to remember this: illusion. Do you remember? Illusion. Through illusion we can do this same exercise. So I don't need that positive song anymore. I can do it by illusion also. So I don't need the real thing, I need illusion to do it. So whenever you see that negative face in reality, just think about a positive face in your mind itself. Okay, otherwise you will say, sir, I'm seeing this negative person, should I look in a different direction to a positive person? No, you can't do that, you can't offend him. You see him, but in your mind you are imagining a very positive person, and that is giving you the feeling of happiness. So while you are looking at him, you are imagining a very positive state of mind and you are feeling happy. So over the time what happens is that if you continuously do it, whenever you see that guy, look at him with your eyes, but in your brain you have that other image of a very positive person who gives you positive feeling. And slowly after some time that person's anchor will be gone and you will not feel the same thing for him after that. Okay, so this is an amazing technique that you will use every day from now for removing all the negative anchors in your life. Okay, very good. So do that consistently, religiously, and you will see a lot of difference in a month's time. So that was the first learning method that we saw in this session, that is classical conditioning. And there are two other methods which will continue in the next session.